Holland Educational Services Center on a Friday. Happy hour. I don't know about that. It's 3 o'clock, but if you want, I know that you guys have the smart board, so we'll let you have the floor unless there's something you want to hear from us first.
Well, yeah, we would like to hear from you first, and based on our last meeting, we're waiting for a response from you at that point, and then we'll see where we go from there. Okay,
so we did meet with the board. The offer is 3%, no bereavement leave. If you want the bereavement leave, it's about a $4 million cost, which is a 0.5%. So it would be, if you want the 3 days bereavement leave, it would be a 2.5% overall with the 3 days paid bereavement. But otherwise, it's a 3% across the board. We can't move off that amount at this time.
And when you say 3%, you're talking about the 3.25 for highly effective and so forth?
Correct. Well, our previous offer, yes.
Okay. You want to caucus first, or you want to?
Just a question on the bereavement cost. Last time you guys quoted this at $1.7 million based on average usage for 3 days. Now it's $4 million. Is there got to be a reason for that?
It's really a range. We quoted the 1.7 reflected the experience we've seen in some of the other bargaining units that have 12-month employees, and we're not sure the experience will be the same with teachers on a 10-month contract who don't have any annual leave. So, but anyway, the experience with the other groups was we had about 12% of the workforce in any given year that needed to use bereavement leave, and on average they used 2.5 days of the 3 days that they were potentially could have used. If we stick to those numbers and apply it to the CTA group, that was the 1.7. We looked at just some slight, the utilization spiked up to 20%, and people used, I think, full 3 days. You could easily be over $4 million. So it's pretty sensitive, and we're not going to really know what it costs until we, unless we end up probably following through with it. But that was so we gave the board kind of that same range of. We said, look, it's probably at a minimum 1.7 to 2, and it could probably easily be up to $4 million a year. So that's our range. I think that's the high end, probably at 4.
We'd rather give the money to the teachers in their pockets at 3% than to add on any other costs that aren't anything that we can actually really quantify. At this time, we just want to get the teachers to 3%. That we have.
So based on the increased FTE that was cited yesterday at the Budget Advisory Committee meeting, it had been stated that the $6 million had been rolled into salary reserves. We're curious as to how that comes into play, and if the offer hasn't moved, but the $6 million was stated to be in reserves, what?
Yeah, I can explain that. So when the board adopted their budget back in September, we had a $25 million salary reserve that was enough almost to do about 2.5% raise for all employees. And the district's first offer to CTA was in line with that. It was a 2.5% offer. We get we get adjusted based on actual enrollment throughout the year, the big adjustments based on the October FTE survey. We did our best. We've got some preliminary numbers. We try to anticipate what that adjustment's going to look like. So before we issued the 3% offer, we were already kind of banking on an increase. Our forecast is pretty accurate. We did end up increasing the salary reserve to $31.5 million. That allows us to do a 3% raise potentially for all of our employees. So we kind of had already anticipated that when we gave the 3% offer. We were kind of holding out a little hope that maybe we'd do a little better. The state had a prorated holdback this year, which means what happens with the state is they set their budget, and it's based on a projected number of students. So we've got 2.8 plus million students across the state. If the state misses their projection and more kids show up, they don't add more money to the budget. Rather, they prorate it down so they just give you less dollars per student. This year, unfortunately, the state did miss the mark, and there was a $29 million holdback across the state. Palm Beach's share was $2 million, so we missed out. We really should have picked up an extra $2 million, and we could have put, $8 million into the reserve, but that we lost $2 million to the holdback, and that kind of left us really where we were before the break in terms of our ability to pay and the money that was available. So, that's been shared with the board, the superintendent. If we had any more money to work with, we would have put it into the pot.
Okay. All right. Okay, as it relates to the salary offer, we'll need to caucus. Now, there are other items in terms of language that are still kind of hanging out that we would like to address as well. As it relates to Article 2G and the CTES,
I think that what you gave me yesterday at the JENC meeting, I think we're agreeable to that. We had a couple of minor changes we're working on. I would have brought it today, but the only person who has access to the hard CTES is on vacation this week. There was one or two minor changes. Some of them were just, you use the word work days. We want to use the word days because to be consistent with the contract. Anytime that it says the word day, a day is a work day unless it says otherwise. So we don't want to start putting work days into the contract. We'd rather have it just say days, and so it's consistent with the rest of the contract. So anytime it's not a work day, it says calendar days.
right, we'd have to look at that because, we tried to make sure that all we did was transferred language.
It was in the original. We didn't catch it the first time. It should just say days. So that was one. It's just a minor issue because when you look at the definition section of the contract, a day is a work day unless it specifies otherwise. We didn't want to start putting in work day to start confusing people. But you did transfer it right over. It was a mistake that was in there in the first place.
We did have a couple of items that were missed out, and so we do have another document for you. And what we did in this other document was to make those changes, because the old changes are still in red.
Okay.
The new ones are in red but bold.
Okay.
And again, it's minimal. Most of it, actually all of it except one thing, is just a transfer of information.
Right, and I did notice that didn't, we had all agreed this was going over there, and somehow I think when it was just getting moved over, a paragraph here or there got missed, and that was not intentional.
And you had said that, that there may be some things that were missing and that you're sure that we would catch them, and we have. There is one exception, and that is on the chart where it describes the evaluation schedule and all that. It says that if a teacher was hired within the last 75 days, they're not subject to an evaluation because there's not enough time for data. But what we had before and it agreed to was 45 days. So I'm thinking that may be a typo. I'm not sure. You can look at that and see. It's at the last item in the chart.
Okay, we'll have everybody look. We'll have our team look at it.
Okay. Gordon, can we give them time? Okay, so we do have copies for you on that. And then, again, just to be thorough, we also included those changes that we made to 2G. There was, again, minimal. Oh, they didn't staple. Oh, shucks. All right. Yeah. We'll give you the 2G ones later. We just need to staple those.
Okay.
Just need to make sure they're stapled. For some reason, our machine ran out of staples, I guess. So we'll get those to you. So we'll go ahead and caucus now and then
Okay.
get back with you.
Okay, you want us to leave the room for you?
Is there a place we can?
Yeah, D's open.
I'm sorry?
D.
D? At the end? All right, we'll go there. All
All
right.
right, thank you.
spirits.
You do? I don't. It's just part of my whole thing now. I just crush people and destroy people and